to the Statesman podcast. Thank you so much for making our time to join us. My name is Swat, and it's an amazing day to have a beautiful conversation. And guess what? It's going to be about one of the presidential hopefuls, Atiku Abubakar. I'm sure a lot of people know the Atiku Abubakar as a politician. But do you know about his family? Do you know about his children? Do you know about his likes, his dislikes? I'm sure you didn't know that. Well, we'll bring you all of that right here on the Statesman podcast. I have a stateswoman, let me put it that way, seated beside me, and she is the beautiful, delectable Hauwa Atiku Ways. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Swat.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And Hauwa Atiku Waits, as you all know, is first of all the daughter of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. She is also the founder of the Hauwa Atiku Waits Foundation. She is the MD Dark Delight, which is a pastry and gelateria.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I got that. Yes.
Yes, you
And then
did.
she's also chairperson,
yeah.
National Strategic Committee, PDP, on the presidential election.
Yeah.
Welcome.
The PDP
Thank you.
New Generation.
New generation.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for making our time.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
I don't know how many people have, seen you and then recognized that you are the daughter of Atiku Abubakar.
Quite a few. Quite a few.
So, when they get to that realization, how did they react to you? As in, do they want to take pictures? What do they want to do when they get to realize that?
Well, it depends.
Yes.
Of course, if you're in a hostile environment, then everyone tries to be cold. And if you're in a friendly environment, some people want to talk to you, some people want to take photos, and basically just get to interact with you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I want us to have this conversation about you as a person, your father, because he's a person of interest for a lot of people who support and love him as one person we're really hoping would be the president of Nigeria. So starting with you, let me ask you this. I was talking with you off air about the things you do.
Yeah.
You are the MD of Dark Delight.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Like, are you someone who grew up wanting to always do what you're doing with Dark Delight in terms of the gelateria? Tell us all about it, though. Let's begin.
So first of all, I'm actually a trained biological scientist.
Okay.
This is the field that I got my degree in. Coming into the food and industry, food and beverage industry, it was more or less pulling me.
Yeah.
After university, I tried to find my footing and tried to find where I fit in the world, and somehow cooking called me.
Wow.
So I started baking. I
Yeah.
self-taught myself.
Nice.
Yeah. And afterwards, I started selling to friends and family. I was operating from a kitchen in my home. I was newly married then. This was about 12 years ago. So after that, I went for some courses in the UK, and I came back. And then I realized I wanted to delve into more about the food and beverage industry. So I went to Italy to the Gelato University, one of its kind in the world, actually, where I learned how to make gelato. Believe it or not, it's a lot of arithmetic.
Wow,
Yes, because
serious.
we're trying to balance out fats, proteins, and sugars, for human consumption. It was very interesting for me, and because of my background in the sciences, it was amazing. I quickly caught on, and today, for 4.5 years now, I've operated my store called Dark Delight Limited.
Well, that's nice.
So yeah, so I'm.
I never knew that all of that goes in, because when you said gelateria, the word gelato, and I always associate it with ice cream, and that's all.
Yeah,
But
and I
didn't
know we're very particular about that in the field. So artisanal gelato makers are very jealous. They guard. They guard the process jealously, because in making gelato, we source for our products locally. We also source for raw materials, and we make these products. The end products are made ourselves through a rigorous process of ensuring that you give your customer the best product in terms of nutrients and quality.
Wow.
So when you compare it to ice cream that has been shipped from China or Lebanon on the high seas and brought into Nigeria to sell to consumers, I get very offended because I know what I put in to ensure that my customers have the very best product made in Nigeria by Nigerians.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, all right, so let's talk about something else. Your dad, how was it growing up with the father, like Atiku Abubakar? Was he always this popular when you grew up, or at some point in time he wasn't so out there, so to speak? Has it always been like this? Everybody knows Atiku Abubakar. Everybody knows him.
Yeah. So in my family,
Yeah.
I am the ninth.
Okay.
Of about 30 kids. And in 1988, when my father started politics, I was only 2 years old. So by the time it was the early 90s when he actually came out properly to the entire country, because by 1991 he was in just trying to contest for the presidency with MKO Abiola.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So by then I was about 7, I think 6, 7 or something. And I was starting to understand my surroundings and, what was happening around me.
Yeah.
And trust me, I have always grown up in a very, very political climate. I've always known my father to be a man of the people. We've always hosted so many different people. I mean, in for instance, in 1998, he was actually elected as the governor of Adamawa State. A lot of people tend to forget that.
Yeah.
Before he was the vice president, he was actually the governor of Adamawa State before, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo called him to serve with him on that particular ticket. So it's been a journey for him. And we have been part of this journey.
Yeah.
We've made sacrifices as a family. We have ensured that for him to get to his goal, we're behind him solidly.
Yeah.
And I remember in a conversation, a couple of months ago with a couple of friends, one of my friends said to me that a lot of people try to criticize his family members and all of that. But she said to me, how would you feel if you weren't cheering your dad on? I, as a Nigerian, would not vote for him if his family wasn't cheering him on.
Definitely.
So that first point of call is your family.
Definitely.
Your family believes in you, believes in what they're trying to do, what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And they're backing you. They're supporting you 100%.
But in the midst of him being a man of the people, hosting political associates and friends coming over to the house, I also learned that he's a very family-oriented person. Tell us about that.
He is.
How does he relate with you one-on-one, you and your siblings?
Yeah.
Does he have time to sit down, talk about your passions and your likes and all of that?
Yeah, he does. So, my father, of course, my father has 4 wives.
Yes.
So it was always between homes, But whenever he was with you as, a unit, you would feel his presence. For instance, after meeting with several people, sometimes he would call for you to just sit with him next to him, because my father is actually a man of very few words, but very determined, and he likes action. So when you sit with him, he has very deep thoughts, and he tries to tell you what he feels and what he thinks, and he discusses with you about issues that are that are important. That's the kind of father my father is, but he's very invested in your life. He chooses the schools you go to. He checks your report cards. If you don't do well, you're in
was there any
deep
subject
trouble.
in the weekend that he was probably happy? For me, it was maths. My dad was always like, "Swat, you need to sit down." But did he have moments like that?
No, for me it was one time I flunked French, and it was because my teacher was really mean to me. So he opened my report card and he was going through it. I think I was in Form 3 or so, and he's like, Ummi. I mean, they call me Ummi at home because I was named after my mother's mom, and in the north, they respect you and they don't call out your name properly. Yeah, so Ummi means mother in Arabic. Anyway, so they call me Ummi at home. So he opened up, my report card, and he's reading through. He's saying, "Oh, math good, English good, it's French." He said, "What happened?" And I tried to give an excuse. I said, "Oh, Dad, the teacher was really mean to me." And he said to me, "That is no excuse. If you take on something, you should give your best, no matter the circumstances." And this is what he always tells us. Whatever you choose to do, make sure you're giving your best at it. Make sure that at the end of the day, it's your best that is coming out of it. And so he said, if you're not going to give in your best, I think you best drop French. Yeah.
So did you actually drop it?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay, that's nice. So what would you say is, how does he inspire you as a person, or as his daughter, and also as a person? Because I'm sure you must draw something from his political, how he has built himself over the years to where he is. And then also on the one side, he's also your father.
Yeah.
So how do you draw inspiration from those personalities? Atiku, my father, Atiku, the politician.
So in terms of him being a politician, he inspires me to always understand and interact with people.
Okay.
And to always give respect to other people's perspectives.
That's
because you really don't have the monopoly of knowledge. He inspires me on how to do team play, basically, because he really understands the value of a team.
Yeah.
His work ethic is amazing. And so that is why when I was talking to you about gelato, I was very passionate about it.
Yeah.
Because my work ethic has to be on point. I get that from him, and of course my mom as well, who's been a civil servant for over 30 years and all that. So and for him as a man, as a father, he inspires me to try my best. He inspires me to always have passion for what I do, and that if I believe in something, I should always ensure that I get it done.
Wow,
that's
really amazing.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting session here on the Statesman podcast. We're talking with Hauwa Atiku Ways, who is the daughter of the PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar. She's telling us so much about her father, things that I'm sure you find very, very, very interesting to know about the PDP candidate. Do stay with us. We'll come back, and when we do come back, we'll delve into some other issues as we begin to round up on the Statesman podcast. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying here. This is the Statesman podcast. Well, when we say statesman, it's both men and women, but you can make Hauwa Atiku Abubakar the stateswoman that we have today. I hope you guys are enjoying our discussion. Thank you so much for coming over again. So, it's some few months before the 2023 election, and your father is one of the top contenders for the seat, the most coveted seat in the country, to become the president. You said it, he's contested over the years. What do you think are the chances that he stands in 2023?
So for me, I think that his chances are good, very good actually. We've never wavered on our commitment to the cause, and he has entered every single election cycle the same way, with determination, with passion to change the fortunes of millions of Nigerians, and with commitment to his cause. So for me, I believe that his chances are fantastic because I believe now Nigerians are able to see that he has the experience and the commitment to the Nigerian dream, so to say. And so this time around, I feel, his chances are much brighter. Actually, and Nigerians are willing to listen to the message that he has for them.
One of the major problems we have in this nation right now is the downturn in terms of the economy, insecurity. And I know that your dad is one person who is an astute businessman. Apart from the fact that he's a politician, we know that he's one person. First of all, when we take our minds back to the Obasanjo administration, it's often credited to him to be one of the major drivers of the economy, which has shown over the years, in comparison to where we are right now, that, the economy was really stable. And then apart from that, he also has a chain of businesses that he has managed over the years. So I think a lot of people are optimistic that he's one person that may hopefully have the key that we really desperately need. Because when you look at the economy in Nigeria right now, a lot of things are not right, in terms of inflation. People are suffering. People can't even afford 3 square meals, So, what do you say about that, especially about the economy?
So in terms of the economy, as my father always says, and also in his covenant with Nigerians, which is the policy document that he has brought out for Nigerians to read about what he intends to do for the country.
Yeah.
There are 5 points basically that he has highlighted in his covenant. So there's reunification of Nigeria,
Yeah.
there's education,
Yeah.
there's security, there's economy, and there's devolution of powers.
Yeah.
So he said all of these things are interrelated. And the most major thing that you need to get right from the start, is the security. Because without security, you can't have the other things that you've listed in your plan. So let me give you an instance, and this is very practical. About a year and a half ago, my staff were trailed from the shop on the way back to their homes. And this was because we were operating at night. So in order to safeguard the lives of my staff, I had to cut down my operating hours. So we had to, instead of closing at 10 p.m., we had to scale back to 6 p.m. Now that is a loss of revenue for a business. Now imagine in thousands the businesses that have been shut down under this administration due to lack of security, farms that have been shut down, they're not in production anymore because of kidnappers, bandits, and armed robbery. So these are things that they're tangible. You can feel them. Yes. So if you don't solve this issue of security, you really cannot uplift the economy. You really cannot uplift the educational sector. So these are things that my father has said that, listen, the first thing I'm going to tackle is the issue of security. Because when you tackle security, you can then open up the economy for investors, for businesses to thrive. You can open up the educational sector. And these things are very interrelated, actually, if you look at it. You know, if security is good, economy will be good. Parents will be able to send their children to school. You'll have good graduates that are good for the job market. You know, so if you look at it,
Everything is
you know, practically everything is interrelated. And so that's why I was saying earlier that I think that Nigerians are ready to listen to the message that he has for them this time around. And this is what is going to be the key difference.
No, I mean, it's quite interesting. I've talked with a couple of people, you know, and people from diverse political parties about their plan. It seems like it's only the PDP that has a document on ground right now, and has something to say definitely or, you know, emphatically about security, economy, and the likes of them. But then, you know, in the midst of all that you said, which sounds very, very nice, and I think it's something that we need. How does it make you feel when you get to hear some sort of propaganda, negative especially, as it relates to Atiku Abubakar?
Well, I think that you know, we've been trained to know that in a political setting, not everybody will like you.
Okay.
You are bound to have critics. I love constructive criticisms. These are supposed to make us better, but destructive criticisms don't really work for me. And you know, I really tend to ignore destructive criticisms. Yes, I completely ignore them because you're telling me a problem and you're not giving me a solution. My father is a problem solver. If you give him a problem, there has to be a solution that comes with it. And this is the way he has approached his politics all of his life. So for me, and for a lot of my siblings, if you're not constructively criticizing what is on ground, then we have no business with you.
All right, that's interesting. So, what's your father's favorite food? Like, what does he like to eat? You know,
He's very traditional, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yes, my father likes tuwo and miyong kuka. Yeah, and there's a particular soup in Adamawa. I can't remember the name. And he actually called me up one day and said, "Can you make this soup?" And I said, "Oh, I can try." I tried, but I think I didn't hit the nail on the head. he ate it.
Wow.
You know, he said, "Oh, of course I'll eat it. You made it for me or my daughter." But it's not like the way my mom used to make it. I said, "Dad, I'm not your mom."
Exactly. But then you're only
Exactly.
But then, I remember one time when Black Panther, you remember on Black
Yeah.
Panther, we saw him, queue online on, is he a movie person too? He loves movies?
He is. He loves movies. He loves football.
Wow.
Oh my God, he's an Arsenal fan. Yeah.
God, I wish he supported Man.
Oh, I wish he supported Chelsea.
Oh, not Chelsea. No. I don't want to talk to you about that. We're superior to Chelsea, so let's not go into that.
He is a total Arsenal fan, and sometimes we joke with him. We say, that's why you're always steady, because Arsenal fans, I'm sorry, they take the most heartbreaks,
Exactly.
and they're so steady, So we joke with him. We say, that's why you're so steady, nothing phases you, and he just laughs, But he's
They say
a
they make the
total.
best lovers and all of that because they swallow in.
Yeah, they do.
All right. I guess we have to stop here. I mean, we could go on and on and on, but I know that you have a whole lot. Thank you so much for coming. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you. I hope we'll get to have you again before the election, so maybe we could just know how that committee is coming up with you. Work in the PDP national generation, new generation, and all of that. Well, we've been talking with Hauwa Atiku, who is the daughter of the PDP candidate, and she's so many other things, like I told you, the MD of Dark Delight, and she told you a lot about that too. Would have to stop here. Would you want to say any final words before we go?
Thank you for having me here, Swat, and thank you for asking me those questions because I think a lot of Nigerians don't actually know Atiku Abubakar, and I hope that I have been able to demystify some of the myths around him. He's human, just like us, and he's only trying his best to make sure that Nigeria works for all of us.
Indeed. Thank you once again for coming, and this is how we draw the curtain today on the Statesman podcast. Join me again next time. My name is Swat. I'll see you.